So welcome guys to the next iteration of our insurance tech webinar. We have Rohit here with us from InsurGrid. Of course, I'm your host, Mariah Gates, CEO of Accelerated Automation. We really want our agencies to be finding great solutions, great companies to partner with to power their operations through technology. And that's why we bring these webinars to you guys. So for our attendees that are here live, if you want to go into the chat and tell us where you're joining us from, so we can just kind of get a feel for where everybody is at. And also we will make sure we have time for Q&A as well towards the end of the call. So first of all, we have Rohit with us. He is the co-founder of, was a co-founder of a fintech company called Stilt. Am I saying, is it Stilt? Is that right?
Yes.
Started back in 2016 and raised multiple funding rounds and eventually sold that company to JG Wentworth in Pennsylvania. After that acquisition, he became the senior vice president and GM of JG Wentworth's fintech business, leading modernization, automation, and leading fintech initiatives there. After you left JG Wentworth, Rohit discovered InsurGrid through a mutual connection and really liked the business and acquired it last year. So in his role there, he's really focused on modernizing that platform, updating the old systems, building deep integrations with agency tools, and adding AI features aimed at commercial and personal lines agencies. And of course, coming from outside the insurance industry, has a really fresh perspective on our industry as well. So with that being said, thank you so much, Rohit, for being here with us. We're excited to learn more about this and learn more about you as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, and glad we could do this.
And did I miss anything from your background that you'd like to add?
I think we hit most of the points. Our new thing is just building companies that other founders have, who have been in the industry for a while and need modernization. So InsureGrid is just first step in that direction, and you'll see and hear a lot in the coming months. In addition to just modernizing the platform, we are also building lots of partnerships, which I think will be very helpful for agents and brokerages that are using InsureGrid.
I love it. Well, we all know that the technologies in our industry have been outdated for a very long time and need to be updated, and having a fresh perspective from an outside the industry is very helpful. So in the industry right now, since you've been spending time in the last year, what's one of the biggest challenges that you're seeing agencies facing?
I think they're inundated with lots of options. They have the opposite problem now. There was not a lot of technology just before 3 years ago, and since the AI boom, I see that agencies are bombarded with lots of potential options for platforms, and they don't know who to trust, what platform to use, how it's going to help them with their workflows. Will it break one thing if they start using it? So that's kind of the main thing. And that also leads to a paradox of choice and somewhat of a paralysis from what I see in the producers, the people on the front lines are not being taught, and they're not being introduced to the technology in the right way. They're just a lot of technology is being thrown at them. So I think we can do a better job at training them and helping them understand how this new technology can help them save time and serve their customers better.
See, it's so interesting to me that you've been, around this industry now for a year. I've been in the industry for 12 years, and I feel the exact same way, right? I don't think it's hard to find that problem in the agencies where technology is getting thrown at people without implementation and training and really thoughtful change management in that implementation. I mean, that's the world that we live in all day long, every day. And, I didn't realize how prevalent it was until we started working with so many agents, but you've been talking to them for a year and you're seeing the same issue. And I would agree, a lot of choices. When I became an agent 12 years ago, none of this stuff existed. These companies weren't even around 12 years ago. So many choices now. What kind of things would you recommend, I guess, as you're seeing agents get kind of decision paralysis, as they're trying to look at tools? What are some things they should look for? What would you recommend so they can pick the right ones?
Yeah, I think it's true for every industry. It was true for fintech industry. We want one solution that does everything, in the way that we want it to do, that fits exactly with our workflow, so we don't have to change anything we're doing. I'll share one quick example. A lot of agents, I think, use Jot forms or some sort of forms and they have built their forms, they have integrated on their sites, and so on and so forth. And if a new platform comes in and says, use our forms, and then we'll help you do better data intake, because we can then add more AI to it, add more data sources to it, that becomes a difficult thing for producers to change because they're just so used to one platform for such a long time. And my suggestion to agents have always been maybe pick one small piece of your workflow that you can automate today, and that can give you confidence that if you take one step at a time, you can slowly automate your a lot of your operational tasks. I joke sometimes internally like agents should be chasing their kids, not declaration pages, because like that's where InsureGrid started. Is like agents were chasing declaration pages, and we solved that one problem well, and now we are adding more to more around that to help agents save even more time.
And I couldn't agree with you more, like you said, where you guys started with one problem, where the company started originally. When I got into the insurance technology space 7 years ago, that's what I saw. Every problem had one solution, and that's where the company started. And now, over the last, I would say, 18 months, we're seeing more and more overlap tools that instead of solving one problem with one solution, that one software can do 5 or 6 things. And I think that's going to expand the one system for all of our troubles, right? That's the dream. But I always tell agents, like, the likelihood of that happening is pretty slim, and the cost of that tool would probably prevent you from buying it anyways. It's weird how it's easier for us to conceptualize, $30 a seat per user for 4 or 5 tools than it is maybe, $200 a seat
Yes.
per user for one tool that might do everything that all 5 do. So it is going to be a bit of a shift as we see more and more overlap in the industry. With that being said, I'm really excited to see what you guys have been up to, because I know it's changed a lot even since the last time I've seen it. So I would love for you to walk us through, InsureGrid, the problems that it solves and how that works. And again, for the live attendees, please ask questions as we go.
Yeah, awesome. So I have a couple of things prepared. Let me share my screen. I hope I'm able to. Okay. Can you all see my screen now?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So I'll very quickly go over our main product, which is InsureGrid's data intake product. And this data intake platform allows you to get or helps you get declaration pages in a consumer permissioned way directly from the carriers. And instead of spending 45 minutes on the phone, asking for every piece of information, you can send clients one link, which they can use at their own time of choosing, and then connect to their carrier, and we pull in all the information and help you get that data. And I'll first show you what the output looks like, and then I'll show you a second what you can actually do. Let me just copy the link. So this is, by the way, a link that you can have for declaration pages, and we also have a link where you can ask additional questions in addition to getting the declaration page, because we see that carriers are asking more and more questions from their agents before they even quote a policy. So all the agents, in addition to getting just the basic information like a VIN number, so on and so forth, they also need to ask like who else drives in the household, how many people in the household, and things like those. And our questions are adaptive to the information we find in the declaration page. So if the information already exists here, you don't need to ask that same information again. We'll sweep that information and only ask the questions that are not answered. And you can make as many of these custom links as you want, and you can share them in any way you'd like. SMS is the most common way. Just a tip for agents, we see if you text a link, you get twice as much conversion as if you email a link. Another tip is if you tell them that you are going to send them a link where they can connect their carrier and give you data, we see up to 90% of the prospects actually end up connecting rather than finding their declaration page and sending to you via email. So you can send it multiple ways, and then you can also download a QR code for your business cards and for your website, so on and so forth. So anyone can use it on mobile. Okay. So once you send the link, the clients will receive a link like this, or prospects will receive a link like this. You'll see it's an iframe. You can personalize it with your brand, with your logo, with your names, your images, so on and so forth. Priyank is my co-founder. He's the CTO of the company. So I'm going to use his link, and I'm going to log in as a prospect. And I'm going to log in with the test prospect, and then we'll see what happens then. So in this case, I'll pick travelers. By the way, we have 400 something 50 carriers here, and we are adding more carriers as every day. So if we find a carrier that doesn't exist in our system where that's getting popular, we are able to add that carrier so you can pull declaration pages directly from there. So in this case, I'll use travelers, and I'm going to use um, our friend Jimmy Swanson, and I'm gonna enter the ID and password. And if Jimmy doesn't have user ID and password, they can also always upload their declaration page here without going through the flow. If they don't have an account, we have specific instructions for each carrier right here, so they can go and register for their account. We'll take them to the carrier site, and they can do that in the same flow. If they forgot their carrier password, we also have instructions for that. But nonetheless, so a login, and now we go to the carrier, and this, like, boom, like it just worked, right? Sometimes it takes a few seconds, but once the data is connected, you will see it show up in your dashboard right here. So we showed that Jimmy Swanson connected a policy just a few seconds ago. Now you can do a lot of things here. You can obviously maintain your pipeline depending on where the prospect is. You automatically see all the data extracted from the declaration page right in your dashboard. And we have built a few custom integrations, like we have an integration with Agency Zoom, so you can send the data directly to Agency Zoom. We have some integrations like with Hawksoft and others, and you can also send the data directly to your agency management system, depending on how you manage your leads. So let me take a quick second to show you all the information we pull out from the declaration page. This person has 3 policies. Sometimes you're coding just one policy and you don't know if the person has multiple policies. So we actually show you all the policies so you can sell them a combined policy. And we show all the data here, the VIN numbers, the car details, the coverages, deductibles, limits. All this information used to take 25, 30, 45 minutes to get from the prospect on a phone, but you can now get it in less than 60 seconds. The policy terms, the premiums, all the details are here, including the details of the home. And you can just enter or send this information to your agency management system or a rater. So we are directly integrated with Turbo Rater. We'll soon be integrated with PL Rater and other raters. So you'll be able to send data directly to them without doing anything. Just pressing with a couple of clicks, all the data will be available, and then you can quote and bind very quickly. So that's one of our primary tools that company started with, which is getting data from prospects, getting declaration pages from prospects. I'm going to pause here, and then I'll show other tools as we move along.
Yeah, do we have any questions so far? I love this. I'm really excited to see the deck page plus questions one. I wasn't aware of that feature, but I love all the ways that you can embed this. So obviously you can put it in a QR code if you're doing marketing at an event. Maybe you're doing a home and garden show, or you sponsor at a baseball field or football field local in your area. You can have that QR very easy. Of course, even in today's world, like some people are doing, TV ads, because you can do them on all these different streaming platforms, and there's QRs on those as well, making it very simple for people to reach you and send their insurance. And then I completely agree with on the texting side. Obviously, we know that text messages get a 90% read rate compared to emails that average closer to 40 to 50% read rate. So definitely a best practice there, you guys, as well. You can put these into your automated campaigns also if you're using an automated CRM, or you work with our team, or send it directly here. I even saw a little sync with Agency Zoom button. Did I see that right on that screen as well?
There is. So if you go to your lead, it syncs to your Agency Zoom tab right here.
Yep, that's definitely the one to have. Well, we don't have any questions so far, so let's keep going.
Okay. So this deck page plus questions one, I mean, I can show it to you, but at the end of the day, you just connect your account and then answer a few questions. It's just as simple as that. And you can add custom questions, by the way. So every agent has their own workflow, and every agent, depending on the policies they're selling, depending on the carrier, they have their custom questions. So someone who's, let's say, writing policies for classic cars has, I think Haggerty asks them to for so much detail. Like I think they have 47 different questions for every
Yeah.
card that they have to write a policy for. So they have created like 47 questions for for those cards. So you can do the same for personal and commercial lines. Obviously, commercial line uh, uh, policies are more complex. You have loss runs and things like that. Loss runs is coming to InsureGrid in 2 weeks also. So you'll also be able to do loss runs right within InsureGrid.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Okay. 2 weeks. That's amazing.
Yeah, so building very fast. After you generally send a declaration page, you know quote and bind a policy. One of the things you need to do is actually cancel the existing policy of the prospect. And we have this feature which I don't think anyone else has, which is a policy cancellation request. What happens with this feature is we are going to act on your behalf to cancel the prospect's original policy that they have with their current broker. So they don't have to go to their existing broker to say, please cancel my policy because I'm moving to someone else. We will do it on your behalf, on the prospect's behalf, directly with the carrier. And the way we do this is we ask you for a couple of pieces of information here. So I'm going to just add a phone number, first name, last name, email, which we got from uh, the account anyway. We saw that this prospect had a traveler's policy. These are the policy numbers. These are the types of policies. So you select the policy, you select the cancellation date of the policy, and you submit the policy cancellation request. That's it. That's pretty much everything you need to do. We will send an email to the client with a PDF that they can sign on their phone. And once they sign the PDF, we fax, email, or send in whatever way the carrier wants that policy cancellation request to come in. And we have had 100% policy cancellation success rate with carriers. So
Wow.
once you cancel the policy for a prospect, it will be canceled through InsureGrid, and now you don't have to chase, or prospects don't have to chase their existing brokers to cancel a policy. So this is an amazing time saver and a higher conversion rate feature, because sometimes prospects go to their existing brokers and they will, remarket the account and quote them a better rate than you did. So that's the second thing that I wanted to show.
Well, and so many customers don't like having that conversation, right? They want help with canceling their prior policy, and a lot of times, when I was an agent, people would assume that because they bought a new policy, their old policy was canceled, not realizing
Right.
that there was communication between the different agents or different carriers. So this is great. It helps with that assumption, right? You can just do that for them and also remove that hesitation where they're thinking, oh man, I'm going to have to call my agent and cancel. I don't want to have that type of confrontational conversation because they're expecting the agent to try to keep them as a client.
Right.
So this is a great way to just remove that. Don't worry, our agency will handle that for you. And it's amazing that's like got 100% success rate. That's great.
Yep. And again, we are trying to save you as much time as possible from the time you get a prospect to binding a policy. And this is just one of those features. Okay, the next one I'll move to is policy comparison, policy extraction. So this is in the same vein, but I'll show each of those. So I'll start with policy comparison. So in policy comparison, what we generally have to do, sorry, this is policy extraction. So in policy extraction, what we generally have to do is, like, as we get these long declaration pages, either from customers, as in personal lines or commercial lines, we have to extract each piece of information from the declaration page or their policy accurately, that the information that we need to send to the carrier for better to get the code, right? And this feature saves about 45 minutes on average for a commercial policy agent, because we extract those details in less than 60 seconds. And we all have seen, policies or declaration pages with handwritten notes with like scribbled items. The photos are, off or whatever, and it gets very difficult. You have to read line by line. With our feature, you don't have to do any of that. So I'm going to show you an example of a commercial policy, because personal policy declaration pages are shorter, and I already showed an example of that extraction. So I'll go with commercial policy, and we are adding more and more types of commercial policies to extract data from. In this particular case, I'm going to use a general liability policy. The only thing I'll do is I'll just upload the page. It'll take less than 60 seconds, and the data would be available for you to copy, paste, or send to any carrier. So I got a few policy samples here, and I have so many policies, I'm gonna pick the GL Travelers policy also in this case. By the way, I'll show you this is a commercial insurance policy and there's like 10, 15, 20 pages, and you have to extract all this data, right? Um, the only thing I need to do is upload the policy and click extract policy data. It takes 30 to 60 seconds. It'll process. You'll get a notification whenever it's done. I've done the same thing here in the policy. So instead of waiting there, I'll just show you the data as it's extracted. So as you see, you get all the details from the policy in a way that you can use it for faster coding. Now you don't have to spend 45 minutes reading line by line and getting every little detail from the policy. We get all the coverages, all the limits, because this is a GL policy, multiple locations. So we get information by each location. And I chose a 15-page policy example, but this works for policies up to 200 pages. So if you have a 200-page policy and you want to extract data from it, you can do it in less than 60 seconds. It's all the
Wow.
same, and it'll show up here. For the technically inclined in the audience, we also have an API for this. So if you have your own system and you would just like to use the API to get the data, you can get that data in a JSON file, or if you're using it manually, you can do it here. Since we have launched this and we have included this in our normal pricing, we don't charge anything extra for it. It's unlimited use, so you can use it for as many pages as you'd like. We are seeing significantly high attach rate. So our customers who are using the data intake tool, a significant percentage of them have also started using this policy data extraction tool because it saves them 45 minutes to an hour extracting data from each policy. So commercial policy works well, and by now the data is already available and it's the same policy. So, you see the same data. So I just wanted to show you what it looks like. So that's
So
policy data extraction.
now that we have that data in InsureGrid, what can we do with it?
You can copy and paste the data into your rater. So if you are using a commercial policy rater, or if you're putting a package together, you can copy this data and paste it in your system. So that's why we have this copy all data button. You can copy each individual field, so on and so forth. So that's one for commercial policy data extraction. In this, if there are additional insureds, I think I didn't scroll it enough. Additional insureds are also there. So whatever information is in the policy or the declaration page, you'll get it 100%. And it works better than using ChatGPT or any other tool because they don't claim accuracy. We have done blind testing, 99% plus data accuracy in extraction. So we do not miss data when extracting data from policies. So extraction is one, and then as I mentioned, you asked me what we can do with the data. One is you can obviously send it to anyone, like carriers, your team, so on and so forth. Now you have less, BPOUs and whatnot, so you don't have to wait for someone to extract the data and send it to you, so you can market a policy. Everything is available here. But the second thing you can do as you have this data, and this works kind of in conjunction with extraction, is policy comparison. Particularly, we have seen obviously in commercial, but also in personal insurance, once someone wants to quote a new policy, we show the comparison with the existing policy, and we want to show all the features, or sorry, we want to show all the coverages, limits, and deductibles, how they have changed, and what does that comparison look like. In this case, you can say, I'm gonna again create a comparison table. I'm gonna say I'm gonna upload an auto insurance, create an auto insurance comparison, and I'm going to add an old policy, and I'm going to add a new policy. So just upload the files and create auto comparison. Same thing, we kick off a comparison behind the scenes. I've created the exact same auto comparison here. And in less than 60 seconds, you will see we have compared both the policies and we have given you a clear picture into how the old policy and the new policy or the new code has changed and what are the differences. So you go line by line with around coverage changes, discounts, any added discounts, remove discounts, um, and we also help you understand this in a human readable form. So you don't have to, you know, try to write that email. You can just copy paste this email.
You don't
This
have to be a lawyer to understand this comparison.
yeah. So
So true in insurance. It's so hard sometimes.
yeah, and then the what we heard from agents is that they were spending a lot of time creating these comparison tables in Excel, and which
Yep.
was quite time consuming. And these tables, just creating these tables, even if we don't do anything else, if we just show these tables, that would save an agent about anywhere 25 minutes to 30 minutes per policy that they can spend on, talking to prospects, convincing them to, buy a policy and so on and so forth. So we do all of this in less than 60 seconds. The data is available. Discussion. We also give you human readable discussion points. We have
Yeah.
said like things like why these are great for also new producers, and I'm going to show something about that in a
I was
second.
thinking
But
great from a training perspective. I mean, if you get, if you're having it, a lot of agencies that we work with have virtual employees or remote employees. So they might be doing the actual quoting. And then once you have that comparison or you have the prior and the new quote, being able to put this in front of a producer and have them discuss these exact things on the phone with the customer is such a huge benefit for someone who is new or just isn't used to explaining coverage. There's still agencies out there who are saying you're paying, 250 a month with travelers and we quoted you a safe code, it'll be $190 or maybe it's 275. And that's the only discussion they're having. And there's nothing around coverage. And it's usually because of them being uncomfortable or unsure of what to say.
And we obviously agents have, a liability for, E&O purposes. So they also don't want to say anything that they don't understand. So they want to be honest and truthful and fair. And the tool allows them to do that. So for example, we say emergency road service, which was included in your state farm policy, is not listed in your new Geico policy. You may need to purchase this separately if you wish to retain this coverage. Right. So we even tell you what coverages have changed, which may result in the client having to do something. So that's the policy comparison feature. And again, like the policy comparison feature is, uh, was done here, and these comparisons were created. And
Well,
let
and this is
me,
also a great way to stand out and be different, you guys, because if you are, let's say you are buying internet leads, then they're going to get a lot of quotes from a lot of people, and they're going to likely not have a lot of information. So being able to provide this also helps you to position yourself as more of an advisor and that you've understood and see the gaps in coverages and you're making recommendations to change that. And, depending on what system you have, you can see it says copy table. You can actually copy this information right out, put that into, that email, put that, obviously you can send the email, put it into your CRM and document it. And then you have an exact comparison for you and your team to discuss. So this is hugely beneficial. It saves so much time. I used to be one of those agents that did the Excel sheet. I had to tab through all the fields, put the coverages. I would do a cost comparison coverage breakdown because I was a captive agent at the time. And so it was very rare that we were ever saving our customers money. We were usually increasing coverages and slightly more expensive. And so this was a key part of my process. Can't imagine how much faster I would have been able to move with this tool.
And I'll just touch on the point you mentioned that you can copy and paste. I'll just copy and paste for the sake of show and tell purposes. So I clicked copied, and I pasted here,
Yeah,
and the formatting
awesome.
just stays. And you can also, change this here. You can say new carrier, because you may not want to tell your prospect that it is with Geico or something like that. And you can change a few things as you'd like here, because the full formatting is transferred over. I'll also share maybe show that the table is also copied in the same way. So you have a very nice looking table right here in the email, and then you can add your discussion points below it, or however you'd like to send that email. You can also remove some items here, so on and so forth, and it becomes very easy for you to edit the whole email.
So I have to ask for the, tech people in the room, like you mentioned, is that extraction available via the API? Can we grab it automatically after we create a comparison?
Yeah, so everything is actually available through the API. So we have made a big
Wow.
push in building APIs for all the new brokerages that want to be tech forward, but they don't want to change their existing systems. Our
Yeah.
APIs provide all of this information in a JSON file via API calls that will embed right into your system without you having to leave the system. You like the upload system and all these things that we have shared, you can build the same thing in your tool, and then you press the button in your tool, but the API call is made to us and we send you all of this information right in your tool. So you don't even have to come to InsureGrid if you'd like to use the capabilities, but not necessarily the UI or the dashboard.
Wow. That's amazing. I love tools that can be that layered into your existing workflows that you don't have to necessarily have, another tab open on your screen. Now, for some agents, I would say the majority of agents, you're not going to go that far to code all of that in together, and you're going to go to the InsureGrid platform. But that's an amazing opportunity for those agencies that are building really digital experiences and trying to consolidate tools. Because, like you said, we all want one tool that does everything. Just doesn't exist today.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, lots more coming on the API front too in the coming months for, we believe all agencies will be tech forward in the near future as the technology becomes easier to use. So we want them to have the best of both worlds, keeping their existing tool while using the latest and the greatest technology.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that's we talked about at the beginning of the call, selecting and these companies to work with and how there's more and more options for agents today. And it can be a lot coming at you. And when I look at companies that I'm going to work with or recommend to our clients, that is one of the key questions I ask is integration. What is their opinion and culture around integration? And there's companies out there who want to hold all the chips. They don't want to open anything up. They don't want to open an API. They don't want to have webhooks or Zapier or make integrations because they want people isolated in their tool. And for me, that's a fast no. That's not a company I'm going to recommend because I know the tech space is changing so rapidly and integration is going to be key.
Yeah, and goes without saying that we have Zapier and make integration so you can use some of these tools directly by integrating with Zapier.
Love it. Lots of
Awesome.
options. Let agents choose, right? How they want to use the tool. That is
Exactly.
that is a great culture to have.
As you asked me, like, what's my learning in the past year? It's just like meet where the agents are. So
Yes.
we don't want them to relearn their workflows. We want the workflows to be powerful now.
Yeah. No, I love that. We say that to agents all the time, right? Meet your customers where they are. Have self-service tools. Have the ability to send your deck pages over with the click of a button because let's face it, we all live in the Amazon world, right? So we're used to the quick
Yeah.
service, the have it now, the DoorDash, the Uber, car shows up, your food shows up, your package shows up super fast. And that's not going to slow down. People are going to only get more and more used to it and they're going to expect it in all areas of their lives. And when things are difficult and there's friction, they're going to look somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Let me show you one additional tool, and then I'll also have something that I'll talk about. So, okay, so we touched upon producer training a few minutes ago, that how you can train new producers. And from what we understood again from talking with the agencies is uh, ramp on onboarding and ramping up new producers takes time, it takes effort, and also has quite a bit of churn if agents and producers are not able to be successful quickly enough in their roles. So for those purposes, we build this tool called Policy Intelligence. That's our pet name, but we are open to changing the name. But the idea with the Policy Intelligence tool, which is being tested by a few agents, is can we train new producers fast enough within the tool as they are selling a new policy? So a prospect comes along, you get the declaration page the same way I just showed you through the link. Now you have the declaration page, but now you don't know how to explain the changes in the coverage, how to explain what the prospect is missing, how to sell a new policy to the prospect. I know for the life of me, I can never sell a policy to a new prospect right now because there's so many things that I need to explain. So it was also a learning tool for ourselves as we were looking at these policy and trying to understand how we can help new producers understand the details. So we do a few things, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's quite deep, but just mention a couple of important aspects of it. So the first one is coverage gaps. We didn't know when we started with InsureGrid last year that policies generally have coverage gaps. For us, a policy is a policy. It's just, like a tomato is a tomato. We just don't know the difference. And we realized as we looked at various policies that some policies actually have coverage gaps, and coverage gaps are one of the biggest reasons for that increase E&O exposure. So if the agents don't know that the policy is missing something important that it shouldn't, then that exposes the agents to,
Yeah, you could be replacing a policy with something that's inferior, that's going to leave gaps. Exactly. Yeah.
so
Doing
we
knowing is horrible.
yeah. I highlight the coverage gaps and the most important coverage gaps. So we don't overburden you, but just two or three most important things that the policy should have. In this case, my co-founder, this is actually Priyank's policy. He moved from Seattle to California, and in Seattle, he did not have uninsured or he did not have motorist coverage. So when he moved to California, our system also flagged, and his agent also told him that he needs to have motorist coverage. And the way we highlight the coverage gap is we, in plain English, we tell you what is the risk to the customer, what is the recommended solution, and how you should bring this up in the conversation. So the risk is that if they get hit by an uninsured driver, something happens, here's the recommended solutions, and here's the conversational approach that Oklahoma, in this case, has one of the nation's highest rates of uninsured drivers, so on and so forth. So you can actually, we also give you a real world example. This is kudos to our tech team. They're able to find all these things specific to the policy and, actually make it practical. The same is true
Wow.
for liability limits, so on and so forth. So maybe this is a separate policy that I'm looking at for someone in Oklahoma, but this is again, like simple, plain English explanation of what's missing in the policy. And the new producer can now get ramped up very quickly, especially with like partial training from existing experienced sales folks. And the way we have built it is if you give feedback to the system will become better, and it will understand your best sales agents' uh, selling techniques, and then it'll train your new agents by leveraging that information and showing it to new agents. So that's one example of policy intelligence.
Wow, this is amazing. I mean, that's such a huge issue. I mean, and it also is a huge issue even for existing staff members who maybe didn't get that initial training early on. Most agencies that I've worked with, the way that they train new staff is they sit with the existing staff and they shadow them and they watch them, and then they give them small amounts of work to, repetitive work that they can learn how to do. So thinking back, when I hired this person 10 years ago, what was my training actually like? So is there gaps? Are they saying things wrong? And potentially putting the agency at risk. Those are all things to reflect on. I love that it continues to learn. So you're giving it feedback directly in the tool.
Yes. So
Wow.
as you continue to give the feedback, and then the good thing with InsureGrid is that we get feedback from all the agencies that are using InsureGrid, so we can also update our best practices. And
Oh,
this
wow.
tool is very difficult. You would not find this tool anywhere else because this tool is built on 5 to 6 years of policy data and training data that only InsureGrid has that no one else does. So the way to find coverage gaps, if you really think about it, like how do you even know there is a coverage gap? Because some coverage gap that's applicable to California may be different in Seattle, may be different in New York.
Yeah.
And we have hundreds of thousands of um, data points from our past that we use to determine what type of policy is applicable to what type of person in what type of state for what type of coverage. So it's quite complicated behind the scenes. We have tried to make it like very simple.
Well, and these are the things that AI is
Mhm.
changing in our industry, right? Where if you think about trying to have a person that could create a guide or talking points individually and comparing all these different policies and across all these different markets and states and policy types, it seems almost impossible, and it's probably why it's never been done before. But now with AI, it can actually store and recover this information very quickly without, our human brain in the middle of it, where we forget things and we make mistakes. And as it learns, it doesn't forget, which is amazing. So obviously we know that AI is behind this, learning these pieces and collecting all this data. And this is the power of AI. People think I'm going to have it talk to all my customers and sell all my insurance. And that's really not where it's going to go, at least anytime soon. People still
Yeah.
want to work with people.
We when we were building our first company, we uh, learned this idea. The role of technology is not to automate everything, is to make people feel superhuman.
Yeah,
So our thinking is like, how can we make superhuman agents? Like super agents or something like that to help
I
them
love
sell
it.
more policies with a human touch. I'll show what this one last example of this policy intelligence tool, which is the conversation guide. So we actually also write the conversation script for the coverage gaps that I shared earlier, from introduction as to talking about the specific details of the policy, to introducing the coverage gaps, to recommending solutions, handling objections, and then closing. You
And
don't
this is
have to use
specific
it.
for each of these, each
Yes,
proposal. Each time you're
each
doing
proposal.
this,
Yes.
it's custom tailored. So you're not saying the same thing over and over. You're speaking directly to this customer based on what they have and what you're recommending.
Yes.
Wow, this
And
is amazing. I didn't know you have this. This is so cool.
yeah, so that's what we are testing. And then the important thing to note here is like these scripts are built on the a profile of your prospect and the policy that they have. So if someone's
Sure.
educated, we'll say things differently versus if someone's, a construction worker or something like that. And if you're selling them a certain type of policy, there's an auto policy, you may sell a home policy or an umbrella or something like that. So the conversational patterns will change based on the policy, who you are selling to, and the coverages that you are recommending.
What they have. I mean, that's so true, because you're going to have different levels of sophistication and background in the policy, and different levels of um, priority with insurance too, right? So somebody that has a car insurance policy with minimum coverage limits isn't going to care as much about somebody that has an umbrella policy where you're quoting auto home umbrella. They've already made a conscious decision to purchase additional insurance, and that's a very different type of buyer than someone
Right.
who's buying a minimum coverage auto insurance policy on its own. I love that is taken into consideration when building that script, because we really want to talk to the client in the way that they're used to being talked to, and in their language that will fit. And it doesn't fit everybody. We're not all the same.
Yep. Exactly. So yeah, these are some of the tools that I wanted to show you. I can go on and on because we have built so much stuff over the past few months since we have acquired InsureGrid. But I wanted to leave the viewers with a few specific things that can help them save like 1 hour to 2 hours uh, per policy, and the time that they can spend in reaching new prospects, talking to prospects, and converting existing prospects, rather than just spending time on operational work. So with InsureGrid, you'll continue to reduce your operational workload while freeing up time to talk to prospect and chasing your kids instead of declaration pages.
So I have a couple of questions, and then those of you that are here live, if you have questions, please type those in and we'll make sure we get those answered. You mentioned raters, you mentioned we saw Agency Zoom on there. What about AMS systems or other integrations that you've built direct with different companies? What is available there?
Agency management system. So I showed Hawksoft agents. You can integrate with Hawksoft by just pressing a couple of buttons. We are going to go live with hopefully AMS 360 in the next few weeks. PL Radar in the next few weeks. We are already integrated with Turbo Radar, and there are a couple more. There is one, so you can go to your settings and then you can go to integration. So Hawksoft there, Zywave is there, PL Radar, so and so. So we are adding a lot of integrations as we speak, and within the next few weeks, we'll round it out and have I think about 90% or something or so for personal lines, both agency management systems and raters.
Okay. And you mentioned already the coaching tool that's in beta. You guys are working on that. Is there any other like roadmap stuff that you can give us a little sneak peek on? I ask everybody that because I always want to know what's coming.
Yeah, lots of fun things are coming. I want to show this renters verification tool. So we one of our bigger clients is a landlord, owns buildings and wants to sell insurance policy, and they want every renter who's living in the building to have a verified, compliant renter's insurance. So
Oh, wow.
when you rent an apartment, they obviously ask you to have a rental insurance policy, but also like the coverages and the limits and the deductibles and the endorsements, so on and so forth. There are specific requirements for that. So right now they were receiving these policies, and someone was manually checking it against their stated guidelines. But now what you can do is you can just upload your guidelines, and you can upload a bulk set of the policies from your renters, and we'll tell you whether the policy is compliant with your requirements or not. And as you can imagine, this is the first version of it. The second version of it is if you have when you create a policy package for a carrier, you know that a carrier likes certain types of things in the policy. So you can write a set of rules for each carrier, and based on the data that you enter into the system, it will tell you who is the best suited carrier for to
Wow.
market this policy. So you don't have to like put the package together, send it to 50 people equally and spend time there. I know this is also learned by experience, but with the tool you'll be able to do it a lot faster, and we'll be able to rank all the carriers that you can that you can market the policies to. So
This is something that as an insurance agent, if you have insureds who have multiple properties, you're covering those apartment buildings, multifamily, that you could then recommend to those
yes,
clients. Is that correct?
yes.
Wow. So yeah, adding
So
even more value through the tools that you already use in your agency, but giving your clients a way to solve problems that they have in their businesses also.
yeah, and I think what has happened in the insurance world, so instead of one cookie cutter tool for everyone, and we take the approach of meeting the agents where they are, meeting the clients where they are, we are building custom tools that are specific for each vertical and each use case. So that's why we have this define your own criteria section. So we don't say this is just the one predefined criteria. It's like you can upload a document or you can define a criteria using variables. So it's quite flexible in that way.
Wow, I love it. This is amazing. Well, I'm excited to see the other things that are coming from InsureGrid over the next, several months and years. You guys have done so much with the tool in the short time that you've had it. We don't have any other questions right now in the chat. So thank you, Rohit, so much for your time today.
For
And for
sure.
those of you that are here live, we will have the recording on our YouTube channel. Thank you again for being here. We appreciate you, and keep building for agents. We need more people like you building flexible tools that meet agents where they are.
Yeah, thank you very much. And just as a last thing, if you are an agent, you want to use InsureGrid, and if you want a special discount because of accelerated automation, you just send us an email and or just sign up and let us know, and we'll give you a special discount for being a viewer.
And we will have all of that information at the bottom of this YouTube video, so you can grab the easiest ways to get a hold of InsureGrid and get that special discount. Thank you so much again.
Yeah, thank you, Mariah. Have a
Bye.
good one.